Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hiro Mizuno, UN Special Envoy on Innovative Finance and Sustainable Investment. I'm honored to welcome you all to join the launch of the International Finance Facility for Education, as known as IFED. I'm thrilled to join you to see the game-changing mechanism becoming a reality. In my role as a Special Envoy, I've witnessed great enthusiasm to develop new instruments to mobilize additional financing for SDGs. IFED not only blends resources from different players, but uses a new and groundbreaking type of guarantee which multiplies donor contributions. I'm glad to report that on last Saturday, the UN Secretary General met with UN Special Envoy Gordon Brown and a delegation of IFED founding partners to receive IFED's founding documents to mark the establishment of the mechanism. I would like to express my gratitude to all the partners who have worked so hard to reach this point. If we are to give children and young people all over the world the chance they deserve, we must build on this innovation. We hope many others here will soon join us in this effort. I would now like to introduce a video from Right Honorable Gordon Brown, UN Special Envoy for Global Education. Gordon has been spearheading this effort with his team at the Education Commission. Unfortunately, he cannot be with us today because he's back in London for the obvious reason. But he has shared these very powerful words with us.
This divided world needs now is hope. And I want you to think about this transforming education gathering as the summit of hope. Hope dies, when boats carrying refugees capsize at sea. Hope dies when food convoys can't get through to a besieged town. But it also dies when young women, with all their lives ahead of them, lives that should be full of optimism, are denied an education and cannot plan and prepare for the future. Now today we can make hope come alive. Hope comes alive when Franca and millions of victims of child trafficking like her, instead of being sold off into slavery, are given the right to schooling. And hope comes alive when Francis in Malawi, who worked at a sugar plantation at the age of 12, and 150 million others like her, are no longer condemned to work, but come to know the power of education and to be able to say, let me learn, and do learn. But hope requires vision. The vision of the Sustainable Development Goals, that we will be the first generation in history where every boy and girl is at school. That's why today, side by side with the demand for higher aid to match the domestic resource mobilization of countries through tax reform and other measures, alongside a call to the IMF to provide more help for education and for the World Bank's low-income facility to support more children in low-income countries, we are, with the support of the Secretary General, launching the International Finance Facility for Education, IFED, working in partnership with the UK, Sweden and the Netherlands, and with the Asian and African Development Banks. IFED is a game changer. IFED uses guarantees from some of the richest countries to fund the education in some of the poorest countries. IFED, in its initial phase, will unlock $2 billion of educational aid and affordable resources for more than 700 million children in low and middle income countries. These are the countries with the highest share of out-of-school children, refugees and displaced girls and boys. IFED will help Pakistan's displaced young people recover from some of the worst floods in living memory. It will assist millions of children in Africa facing not only famine and drought, but years without schooling. And given what we know of devastation in Ukraine, it will add to that country's reconstruction, as well as help refugee children in countries like Pakistan, Kenya, Bangladesh and India. So let me announce today that this new facility is being established in Switzerland, home of the many UN organizations, and it will be dedicated to the one mission that today inspires our Summit of Hope, that instead of developing some of the potential of some of the children in only some countries, we develop the potential of all children everywhere. I'm very sorry I can't be with you today, but while I may seem far away, I'm very close to everything you're trying to achieve. And this short video now shows the power and potential of IFED.
So IFED will begin its rollout in the...
What if millions of children and young people like Arya were given a better chance? The International Finance Facility for Education, is a game changer. IFED multiplies donor resources so countries can make investments in education and skills for the economy of tomorrow. We are on a mission to reclaim the future for young people. Learning is the engine that powers everyone's future. That's why the learning and skills crisis impacts us all. IFED creates 7 times more impact for donor dollars compared with traditional aid. With access to affordable finance, countries can make investments without burdens for the future. We'll close the gap where it matters most, by turning millions into billions without trade-offs or extra resources, and innovating at pace to support country-owned learning programs. Now is the time to join a collaborative network that can achieve ambitious development goals. All we need is your investment in the future. IFED, a generation of possibilities.
So IFED will begin its rollout in Asia region. As such, I'm honored to invite His Excellency Minister Enkar Anggaram, Minister of Education and Science, Mongolia, to share his views on the opportunity which IFED offers Mongolia. Please.
Dear moderator, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, and it is great honor and outstanding opportunity to be here today on behalf of Government of Mongolia and express our commitment to education transforming for future. Today we all got very good news about the launch of International Finance Facility for Education. This is really, really good news. I think as many countries waited today's event and this kind of the initiatives. There is, I hope, there's another powerful light in the end of tunnel. I want to thank UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres for convening all countries and galvanizing global action for transforming education. As we all know, transforming education demands innovative ways of financing for limited resources, and the evidence and practice already imply it is challenging to go ahead of existing and traditional way of the financing in education. In particular, low and middle-income countries are facing challenges to maintain national budget for educational expenditure due to the fact that the debt ceiling has already reached and huge pressure is on external debt. We know there are good and progressive initiatives and actions are taken by donor countries. It is time to call on collective action for innovative mechanisms such as debt relief, debt swap, debt cancelling, as well as green fund funding for education. Transforming urges collective effort and technological adaptation. Thus, I would like to strongly call for government and international development organizations to actively engage and cooperate on innovation in financing and act together for a resilient and prosperous future of the world. I would like to wish successful launch for International Finance Facility for Education, and I would like to express our willingness to be partner of your organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Mongolia's championship of education financing is an excellent example of how IFED can partner with lower middle-income countries. So I'm now going to ask representatives of some IFED's donor countries to share their remarks. I would like to invite Her Excellency Evelyn Weber-Cruz, Prime Minister of Aruba, on behalf of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, to make brief remarks. The Netherlands has been with IFED since its inception. So please.
Your Excellencies, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be able to speak to you on behalf of the Kingdom of the Netherlands at this afternoon's Spotlight session. Sustainable education transformation can only be achieved by substantial increases in financing to close the education financing gap. We cannot work on transformation if we lack the means to do so. The International Finance Facility for Education, or IFED, presents a unique way to do so. in addition to much needed domestic finance. And this is why the Netherlands has been one of the initial supporters of the IFED and is looking into the model with great interest. The most appealing feature is undoubtedly the 7 times return on investment that IFED promises to deliver. This would enable 7 times more children and youth to go to school compared to traditional grants. Moreover, IFED also invests in technical and vocational education and training of youth urgently needed to create entrepreneurial generation, a generation of young people that can take charge of and transform its own future. This is of utmost importance in lower middle-income countries where IFED foresees to be active. These countries face multiple challenges of inequality and climate change, but are at the same time fertile grounds for innovative public-private partnerships. The Netherlands has acknowledged the potential of IFED from the start, but only with joint efforts we can make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Representing another donor country, Her Excellency Jenny Olsen, State Secretary to the Minister for International Development Cooperation of Sweden, will share her remarks. Please.
Thank you. Excellencies and colleagues, education is a basic human right, as was said before, but it's a right we need to fight for. But no one today questions the importance of education to alleviate poverty, to empower women and girls, to strengthen health and well-being, to attain sustainable development. And still, in the aftermath of the pandemic, with devastating global school closures, many countries are cutting domestic spending on education. I believe that all of us here are alarmed by the trends indicating that it will be well beyond the turn of this century before countries around the world will reach SDG 4 and ensure that all children complete primary and secondary education. We therefore need innovative financing models to mobilize additional resources for investments in education. It's particularly important for those millions of children and youth that today are left out. IFED does exactly that. Sweden strongly supports IFED's vision to maximize donor resources and stimulate partner countries to increase domestic resource mobilization for education. We do so, and as we heard on the film and as was said, IFED provides 7 times the return of investments compared to traditional grants. 7 times. So it enables us to increase access and learning for the poorest and the most marginalized, especially girls, the disabled and the displaced. IFED's objective to target the poor and the most vulnerable children to achieve SDG 4 aligns very closely with Sweden's policy for international development cooperation and our support to global education. Sweden's ambition is to contribute with a guarantee to IFED, and the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, SIDA, is in its final stages of an appraisal process on IFED. Once approved, the guarantee to IFED will be the largest ever within development cooperation undertaken by SIDA, the largest ever. So we hope that this will serve as an encouraging example and inspirations to others. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister and our State Secretary. It's heartening to see the enthusiasm for the potential of IFED and to hear Sweden's guarantee contribution is said to be the largest ever guarantee approved by SIDA. So I will now invite heads of philanthropic organization. We'll first have a short video message from Rajiv, Shah, President of the Rockfella Foundation.
Hello, everyone. As the world comes together for this year's UN General Assembly, we must all face a hard truth. Amid current compounding crises, we simply don't have the scale of resources required to support an equitable and just global recovery. much less achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. That's why the Rockefeller Foundation is proud to support the International Finance Facility for Education. Over the last 20 years, we've seen how innovative financial tools like IFID can help stretch public funding and in turn scale the solutions humanity needs to make opportunity universal and sustainable for everyone. And now, thanks to the leadership of the United Nations, the Education Commission team, and the incredible determination, persistence, creativity, and commitment of Gordon and Sarah Brown, we can do so again on an issue that means so much to all of our children and all of our futures, especially girls. Thank you.
We will then turn to Mr. Mark Redding, the head of the Atlassian Foundation. Philanthropic sector involvement is not only critical, but signals the urgency of the crisis and the need to collaboratively work towards achieving SDGs 4. So please.
At the Atlassian Foundation, we're acutely aware of the enormous value of education, not just for individuals, but for communities, countries, and society as a whole. We focus on equipping disadvantaged young people with the skills they need to thrive in the 21st century. We do this in part through catalysing funding, encouraging innovation, and strengthening global ecosystems. IFID is aligned with all three of these objectives. It's a groundbreaking finance innovation that will help to address the gap in education financing in lower middle-income countries. Therefore, it shouldn't come as any surprise that we've been supporting IFID through seed funding for more than 3 years. We're delighted to be part of the formal launch of IFID, and we look forward to the contribution IFID will make in unlocking critical education investments and accelerating education outcomes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Redding. So the power of IFID comes from the way it leverages the power of the multilateral development banks. The Asian Development Bank is going to be the first of developing bank involved with IFID. So I would like to invite Mr. Woo-Chun Om, Managing Director General of Asian Development Bank.
Thank you, Mr. Mizuno. And we're really honored to be here representing the Asian Development Bank as well as the other regional development bank, hopefully. And first of all, we are very, very proud to be part of the founding member of this IFID initiative. And through the previous speakers, I don't have to talk about what and why we need financing for education, but we need to talk about how we're going to finance it. And all of the traditional financing mechanisms, whether it's a tax payment or ODA, and also traditional financing from the multilateral development banks, these are all $1 in and $1 out. And clearly that's not enough. And this innovative financing, which optimizes the balance sheet of the multilateral development bank, it's a unique facility which can provide $1 in and $7 out. And you can't get a better deal out of this than that. And that really is a game changer. So with all the challenges that we are facing across the world, and the donors are stressed out because you have COVID-19, climate change, energy and food crisis, and God knows what else that's going to come forward to us. But education is a marathon. We have to keep financing for generations to come. Otherwise, we will not have a world to live in. So we are very pleased to be part of this initiative, and we want this initiative to be up and running as fast as possible. And most importantly, ADB is trying to be the guinea pig to pilot this so that other multilateral development banks can catch up and implement this everywhere as well. So looking forward to working with all of us here seated today and watching through videos and looking for some great outcomes in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Om. It is exciting to hear the enthusiasm and commitment of the ADB to this innovation. So Your Excellencies, again, many thanks for all your contributions. To everybody involved in IFID, including those who are not on the stage but has been at the center of development, this innovation, including African Development Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, and the UK, and the Varkey Foundation. I wanted to extend the warmest thanks to you. As Mr. Brown implored, let us make this a summit of hope. We will develop the potential of all children everywhere around the world. Thank you very much.